All right, guys. So now that we have a million rows, what we're going to do is insert a new file here. And then I'm going to call it server cursor, server side cursor.py. And then I'm going to create another file called client cursor.py. So let's start with the client. How do we do a client cursor that actually, what we're going to do is query all the rows and then just measure the time for the query to get executed, and we're gonna fetch the first 50 rows. Okay, so that's our criteria, and we're gonna do it first with the client cursor, and then we're gonna do it with the server cursor. Again, import pcycle, and then connection equal let's steal. All right, guys, just saving some time here. Okay, I have a connection.close. Okay, let's do a cursor that is client side cursor. So cursor equal connection.cursor. If you don't specify any parameter here, you get a client side cursor. Okay, client side cursor. Okay, and we explained what is that, right? And then what we want to do is cursor.execute select all from employees. Obviously, this is a huge bad mistake to do that, right? But we're doing some performance thing anyway, right? So even with a where clause, sometimes it gets query can get slow, right? But that essentially will execute everything, and then what we will return a bunch of rows for us. Okay, no, that will not return any rows actually. Okay, so cursor.fetch many will actually return the number of rows, and I want just 50 rows. Okay, and I'm not gonna print them or anything. Okay, so now we need to actually measure the time to do that. Okay, and to do that we're gonna import some library called time. All right, I just like use a T so we can do it simply, and then let's do that. Start time, okay, equal t.time. Okay, make a snapshot before we start the cursor, and after we start the cursor we will get the time divided subtracted from the start time. All right, and that will be in seconds essentially, right? So I want it in milliseconds, so I'm gonna just multiply by 1000. Okay, all right, so now we have, and we're gonna print f cursor established in e millisecond. Cool. And then we're going to do the same exact thing for the execute. Cool. And then we're going to do, but this is different now, cursor established, not the cursor established, query all rows. I will just say, let's call this execute the query. All right. And then this is different. This is actually fetching the thing, okay? And this we're gonna explain how is this different, okay? Execute query, and this is actually fetching 50 rows, first 50 rows. Just fetch the first 50 rows and tell me how long it takes, okay? How about we run and see how this is going on, okay? Oh, I forgot to close the cursor, guys. Cursor to close, okay? And then let's start. All right, so let's zoom in here so you guys can read this. Establishing the cursor obviously doesn't take anything. It's just literally declaring that statement, right? So 0.02 millisecond. But look at executing the query, which is we didn't have to actually get the result. It was just executing the query, fetching every single thing into the cursor took 845 milliseconds, and then fetching the first 50 rows nothing, right? Almost nothing, because we have everything in the client, right? We now, if I look at the processes, like the process is huge. It's containing 1 million tuple row, okay? And obviously, the more you execute, it's a tuple, so it's not an array. So we didn't actually allocate everything, okay? So it's slightly different. It's a read only.